What's a dirty little secret that you know, only because you work in the industry? I used to work in radio, and we totally didn't take caller 10. We maybe counted 1 to 6, and then sorted through the callers, until we found an excited sounding voice that fit the target demographic. I won a radio call-in trivia at a local station. We had to answer questions about Frosty the Snowman, and what all his features were made from. I guess the phone screeners had enough of everyone not getting the 3 questions right, so when I called and they picked up, I got 2 right but missed one about his eyes. The screener then just told me to say Cole, and I think it was recorded and edited to make it seem like I got all 3 correct. Without prompting, I enjoyed $100 of gas back in early 2000s. I am working at a sports club with way over 2,000 members, and I can tell you, you might sign some paper about data security and how we handle data, but believe me, your data will go places you don't want it to go. My cousin worked HR for a 250-employee company. She had all of the information from everyone on her personal laptop, because they never gave her a work laptop. Salaries, SSN, addresses, everything. I like to remind our clients that in our age of working from home, the HR manager's son, trying to download hacks for Fortnite, or similar, is likely one of their biggest security risks. I'm no longer shocked by the vast amount of software we all use on a daily basis that is rushed into production, shoddy, insecure, held together with spit and band-aids, etc., etc. I'm amazed everything hasn't just collapsed into dust already. Every day. We just canceled a big Oracle project because, after 5 years, they hadn't fixed a single one of our long list of showstopper errors. People just learning to code, getting your CS degree, have no idea that some of the biggest software companies in the world are shipping code I wouldn't let my Girl Scout troop get away with. Then your boss will sign a contract without talking to you and say, but they're one of the biggest names in the industry. They're best in breed. What do you mean, it doesn't work at all? Sigh. There isn't a larger than normal call volume. We just don't have enough staff. Also, your call is not important to us. We actually want you to go away. That became obvious when every single company started saying it all the time. Love how so many companies decreased customer service quality due to COVID and never went back up. Due to COVID, UPS and FedEx were allowed to just effing ignore delivery confirmation and signatures in favor of contactless delivery. They're still doing that for the same reason, as an excuse. I'm in insurance. If you call to request an estimate for a claim, they will count it as a $0 claim on your file when they deem the damage not enough to repair. That means, when another company pulls your information, it will not only impact your future rates, but might make you ineligible for future policies. Don't ever call insurance for an estimate first. Get a third-party inspector to tell you whether you should file with insurance. Yo, this happened to me. I had a crack in my windshield and called to see if it was covered. They said, yeah, but it was $500 for a deductible, so I declined and went to repair it at a local shop. Couple of years later, I was dealing with another insurance about something else, and they said that I had made a claim on a windshield repair a few years ago. I was like, WTF? This one is fairly well known, but I'm just confirming its truth, as someone that used to work in a factory. The brand you buy doesn't always matter. Sometimes it's all the same stuff that comes out of the same vats, but just labeled differently and sold at different price ranges. I work in a bottling plant. It's an independent Pepsi bottler. We make Aquafina, and also our own labeled water. It's 100% the same thing. Same bottle, same water, same standards, same caps. Only difference is the label. We don't even stop running when we switch from Aquafina to our water. They just stop the labeler, change the label, and keep going. Never buy name brand water. This is also true for like 80% of the world's sunglasses. The $9.99 rack at the grocery store and the $599.99 luxury brands were made by Luxottica. So, your Foster Grants, your Ray-Bans, and your Pradas were made right next to each other. Beer taps at bars and restaurants are not always clean and can be very, very dirty. Same with the inside of soda spouts. I'm an inspector, went to a gas station fountain drink couple weeks ago When I unscrewed the nozzle, a string of mold fell on my arm, and it was the length from the palm of my hand down, almost to my elbow. Don't buy fountain drinks from a gas station. As a cybersecurity consultant, I can tell you many companies I have worked with are when they are hacked, not if they are hacked. Some orgs have people in charge of cybersecurity that barely know how basic protocols and technologies work. Also, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked to provide analysis, and after I present my findings, half of my recommendations are met with, "Yeah, our end users might complain, we're not gonna do that." Enterprise Rent-A-Car buys their cars straight from the manufacturers at a price lower than dealerships get. After they rent them for a year, they sell them to the public at a price higher than they originally paid. One of the shops I worked at did service on Enterprise cars. Doesn't matter what the manufacturer recommends, they all get the cheapest 5W30 regular oil in every car they sent us. Wouldn't pay for the synthetic requirements, or even request the correct viscosity. There are tons of buildings out there that don't meet code. Even new construction. Inspectors either don't care, don't know the code, or don't even bother to inspect in the first place. On the plus side, building code is extremely over-conservative, so if you get close, it's probably safe. Maybe. Most of the time. Except when it's not. And then everyone gets sued. 3 to 4 of my friends who purchased houses or condos in the last 5 years have had to do extensive, like 25 to 30% the value of the property, repairs, because of bad construction work. Inspectors didn't notice shit. Not saying this is what your friends experienced at all, but just to make a point, a lot of people do not understand that built to code doesn't mean it is built with quality. Code is for safety. You can have a perfectly safe house built to code that is absolute dog shit quality. Another thing people think is that building inspectors are inspecting workmanship. This is often not the case. They only care that the code is met, and the drawings were, generally, followed. They couldn't care less if your flooring was improperly laid, or your walls have the correct paint on them. In a lot of cases, the fancier the marketing, the messier the management. At one of my jobs, they were looking for a project management platform to help with project schedules. Upper management wanted to know why turnaround times were slow. I suggested a Basecamp alternative that connected more seamlessly to all of our apps, and would set up an on-site server that could be securely managed. We suffered from too many middle managers, and I knew that they were where all of the delays came from, so when I pitched this software, I left out the activity tracker. After the first quarter of use, I printed out the tracker timeline, and it showed big blue bars that were weeks long, and represented the middle management review turnaround time. Their answer to this problem wasn't streamlining the review process. Instead, they decided to hire more middle management that ended up making it worse. Their answer to that was moving to Basecamp, which didn't report the same way. Edit: the software I used was Rike. Hey Rike, give me money for spreading the good word. Work in large-scale construction. Large developers effectively borrow on the credit of all of the smaller players who are their subcontractors. You have billion-dollar companies asking smaller companies to pay for them, with a promise to pay later. The larger the developer, the slower the process is to get paid. If a project goes bust, it's these small guys that get hit, because all of the developers have LLCs that are project-specific. No assets to speak of. When you send your food back to the kitchen, we fix or remake it, and make it right, and typically feel bad if it's our mistake. If it's the server's mistake, who put it in the ticket, it's okay if she makes up with it with a round of ice waters, sodas, or later on beer. If the customer didn't understand that a BLT had bacon on it, we still fix it, but call you an idiot. Side note, servers talking to the kitchen will blame the customers. They said they knew it had bacon in it. Servers talking to the customers blame the kitchen. I told the chef no bacon. I apologize. We don't care. You work for tips. We get paid either way. Here's your BLT. I was scarred as a child, seeing movies where people spit in the food. I never send food back that's been made incorrectly. I just sit there and eat it. Worked in food service from 18 to 32, and I've never seen, nor heard an account, of anything that shouldn't be in the food being put there. Worst I've seen was, when a chronically rude guest came in 5 minutes after close, and demanded service. It was a country club, so he was technically a part owner, and we weren't allowed to say no, then sent his perfectly cooked steak back to the kitchen. His second steak was microwaved for a minute or two, and then dropped in the fryer. He did say that it was the best steak of his life, though, lol. Send your food back, the kitchen will fix it. The ice machine definitely has mold in it, though, and never trust the cut fruit from servers. 95% of them don't wash that lemon before cutting it and shoving it into your iced tea. You'd be horrified at the amount of bacteria on those kitchen lemons. ETA, I worked at Starbucks from 18 to 22, then 10 years, in sit-down restaurants. I can't vouch for fast food. Will Writer, in the UK here. If you have £325,000 in assets, or less, and you don't intend to exclude anyone from your will, you need a bog standard will. You don't need a solicitor to write it, and if it costs you more than £150 plus VAT, then it's a rip-off. It takes me about an hour's worth of work to gather information and write that will. I would recommend getting power of attorney, though. It's a pain in the ass if you lose capacity without it. IT staff, even highly paid ones, Google most problems. We are just better at it than you. Given, we also understand how to apply what we found, but still. It astounds me, the lack of awareness of Googling in professional circles. I don't work in IT anymore, but my coworkers, young or old, etc., all will come to me with an issue. For example, is this piece of equipment the one with a big pulley wheel, or a small? And I go to my desk, Google the part number, and look at the picture, walk back to them, sitting at their computer, and say, small. It's like, when they show up to work, they lose the ability to critical think. I worked at a Marriott for several years. I learned the following. Bedbugs happen more often than you would think. There's not much we can do about it. A hotel, with frequent international travelers, is bound to end up with someone who brought something with them in their luggage every now and then, every now and again. I forget which is the proper saying. All we can do is quarantine and clean the room when the problem is discovered. Those sheets are probably not as clean as you think. People in the hallway can hear you having sex in your room, or you watching porn if you don't wear headphones. Always flip the bolt lock on your door. People make mistakes in booking or blocking rooms. I can't count how many times a room has been double booked, which leads to very awkward or angry interactions. If you had something bad happen to you, or are angry at something you booked not working out, make a bit of a fuss. You can usually get free food, or drinks, or a free night's stay. Don't be a D about it. Accidents happen, and it's often not the fault of the person you will be interacting with. But hotels bend over backwards in order to not get a bad review. At the hotel I worked at, every review lower than a 9 or 10 was considered a 0. So, get your money's worth. Lastly, we can smell the smoke or weed coming from your room. We can also smell it when you leave. We might not be able to do anything about it when it happens, but you will absolutely be charged for the 1 to 2 extra nights that the room is unavailable while we clean the stench out. Please stop smoking in the rooms. You're the only one who can't smell it. Everyone else can. We know you're lying. Stop being childish. I work in the medical field. This isn't really about my field exactly, but an adjacent field, health insurance. There is a guy reviewing our notes, looking for reasons to deny a claim. The guy reviewing generally has no clinical knowledge whatsoever, but they are looking for certain keywords, so they can stamp the denial on the claim. For this reason, I will omit certain things on the clinical notes, if it isn't directly applicable to what I am treating, because I know from experience that they will use that word as an indication that the proposed treatment is inappropriate and therefore denied. I learned this the hard way when my daughter was denied allergy testing. Twice. I appealed and won. But seriously, allergy testing? My other daughter was denied a lip/tongue tie surgery, but the doctor himself actually appealed that one for me. Apparently, he's had to do it a lot, because insurance companies just think it's only an issue for breastfeeding, and you can just formula feed instead. Everyone knows gyms are dirty, but no one knows how dirty. When you finish a workout, scrub your hands with hot soapy water. Get between your fingers, under your nails, your palms, as if you've been touching raw chicken. They clean everything at night. No, no we do not. I own a sign shop, and I can tell you with 100% certainty, that almost all businesses fail within the first year. If you think you are going to open a restaurant or a boutique, you are about to lose a bunch of money. Also, no matter what business you want to start, go talk to your local sign guy, and ask, how many businesses have been in that location and failed? Trust me, we know which locations are cursed. Most residential HVAC contractors have absolutely no idea what they are doing, and oftentimes, their recommendations are complete bullshit. I do a lot of residential mechanical design, and on just about every project, I'm forced to defend my drawings, because the contractor has ideas on how to make it better. Most of the time, they are just trying to make it cheaper. Often, they just don't understand how things work. Me, you ignored the drawings, and installed an oversized system. Contractor, the way I see it, they got an extra half-ton of cooling, for free. Me, not only is that against code, but that can promote mold growth in the house. Contractor, we'll just agree to disagree. Me, there's no disagreeing with any of that. Contractor, we need a bigger fan. There's not enough airflow. Me, your own balance report shows there's enough airflow. You just need to properly balance it. Contractor, there's just not enough airflow. Me, so, is your balance report wrong? Contractor, of course not. Me, then just balance the air. A new fan is a waste of money. Tell you what, you give me your calculations that show we need more air, and that your proposed fan will produce that much air, and I'll look over them. Contractor, I don't have calculations. I'm not the engineer. Me, well, I am the engineer, and I'm telling you, a new fan is a waste of money. Fast forward to a new fan being installed, and them finding out it didn't do anything better. People cleaning their underwear in kettles is a huge problem in hotels. We find so many forgotten underpants in the kettles that I can't even assume how many we didn't catch. Don't use them. If you want a nicer room in a hotel, book under Professor Doctor / your name / that makes you way more likely to be bumped up. When you're traveling privately, take a card from any hotel testing company with you, and give it to the reception when you arrive, to enter as the address for your bill. Staff will be extra nice to you. If you want to steal towels from your hotel, don't steal them on the day you're leaving. Just put one in your suitcase, day after day, and throw the remaining towels on a stack on the floor. Housekeeping will most likely not count them, because they don't have the time, and put a full amount of new towels in your room. As long as a full set is there when you're leaving, you'll be fine. We keep records about who was nice and who wasn't in our system. If you were nice, you're more likely to be bumped up. Medical debt under $500 doesn't affect your credit score. If you can also ignore a debt for 7 years. Don't acknowledge that it's yours, don't make a payment, don't even answer the call from collections. That falls off eventually, as well. Not hard really, just don't answer unknown numbers. Never answer the phone with, "This is your name." "Hello? I'm calling to speak with so/so. Who is this, and what are you calling about?" If they decline to give you that info, hang up. Block the number. I work in shipping, and there are absolutely no issues in the industry at all. I have compiled a list of things that don't happen anywhere. No illegal pollution. No illegal emissions. No corruption, bribery, or the likes from any port or government officials, pilots, agents, or even Suez boatmen. No companies are willing to disregard all the rules regarding health and safety and pollution in the interests of making or saving money. No racism, bigotry, nepotism, or any form of discrimination. No incompetent pieces of shit with fake certificates of competence and service who are willing to do whatever any piece of shit company asks to save money, irrespective of international registrations. All in all, it's great that oil and gas majors have abandoned direct management of ships and allow the honest, sincere, and passionate, high-quality third-party management companies to do it all at lower costs while maintaining equally high standards. The education system in America is effed because of contracted employees. I work for an organization called Solient. They own 4 different staffing companies in special education. We place special education teachers, speech pathologist, school psychologist, paraprofessionals and such. We pay our employees 60% of what we charge the schools. On an hourly basis, it's a bit more than what a government employee could make, and we keep that margin razor thin. Our executives act like we are doing good work, but we are pulling hundreds on millions of dollars out of educators' pockets and out of schools. We pay lobbying firms to keep it this way, as special education is federally funded. We aren't the only firm that does this, but our organization is specifically bad because we have 4 sister companies that work together to drive prices up. Our parent company doesn't care which of our companies makes the money, so we constantly bid up work against our own. All phone sales are poorly trained, lying, or both. That is why your bill is always messed up after leaving a store. I switched to T-Mobile because they are the only carrier with service in my town. If there were options, I would have left them almost immediately because of how much the store employees and customer service reps lie about the perks. I was told that by switching from Verizon, I would get a $400 accessory credit that would apply no later than the second bill. When it wasn't applied to the third bill, I called customer service and they said, "That's not a perk that was ever offered," and I was on the hook for an extra $400. When I signed up, I was told I would get free Netflix without ads for life, as long as I remained a customer. Well, I now have to pay $8 per month, still cheaper than if I got it on my own. I know, and when I called customer service, I was told that the sales rep should have worded it better. There is absolutely no desire by T-Mobile to rectify mistakes and lies made by their store employees. After canceling T-Mobile service, they continued to charge me to the tune of $431. After 3 years of harassing them, they sent me a prepaid Visa for that amount. I went to activate it, and kept getting an error. I called customer service, and they said right after it was mailed, the money was removed from it. I asked if they could send another one. They said they could not, that I had to go to a local store. I went to the store and they said they cannot see that part of a canceled account, and that I had to call customer service. Called customer service again and they said I have to go to a store. So, they basically stole $431 from me. F you, T-Mobile. I worked weddings for a few years. The fact that people would pay upwards of $100 to $150 a plate is crazy. That food is not worth that much money. In fact, the wedding industry as a whole is an insane cash grab, and I never knew until I was in it. My husband and I made a couple of the food items ourselves the night before the wedding to save money on the catering bill, and I always look back on it fondly. We sat at our kitchen table and made 200 pigs in blankets from canned Pillsbury Crescent rolled dough, and cut up hot dogs, laughing away our butterflies together about how the next day would go. If I wanted to order those from the caterer, it would have been $175, and we did it for $15. Printers aren't smart enough to know the amount of ink or toner is left in the cartridge. They guess based on usage percentages and only know when they are empty. Low toner doesn't mean replacement, it means have one on hand. Car part manufacturers know that aftermarket sellers, local repair shops, but also DIY places like AutoZone don't have the testing capabilities like OEM manufacturers, so will sometimes ship them questionable and/or outright defective parts. I was in QA at a supplier. Top grade parts went OEM. Defects below a certain size went aftermarket. We were not allowed to know who aftermarket was. Most radiation is far less dangerous than movies and TVs have led you to believe. In fact, your natural diet probably includes radioactive foods. People have a pretty skewed view of radiation. People don't think twice about hopping on a cross-country flight, but decline X-rays going to the dentist. A long daytime flight has more radiation exposure. Stagehand here. Most famous musicians are total douchebags back or off stage. I've worked with a few good apples, and they're the ones that have been touring for decades, usually. I absolutely loved working with Dave Grohl / Foo Fighters. Took everyone out for drinks and food after every show. Treated everyone with respect. Helped a lot with stagehand work. Got to talk with him about life and laugh for a good while. Best person or band by far I ever worked with. He always left early, though, after putting down a tab at the restaurant, because he wanted to spend time with his kids over FaceTime before they went to sleep. Great guy.